Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. So, we are reading from the book Coming Back by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Let's start with Chapter 8, Don't Come Back. The sages of ancient India tell us that the goal of human life is to escape from the endless cycle of reincarnation. Don't come back, they warn. All in all, the situation of the living entity caught in the cycle of birth and death is somewhat like that of the Greek hero Sisyphus, the king of Corinth, who once tried to outwit the gods but was sentenced to the non-win fate. He was given the punishment of rolling a massive stone up a hill, but each time the stone reached the summit, it rolled down again, and Sisyphus was forced to endlessly repeat his arduous task. Similarly, when a living entity in the material world ends one life, he must, by the law of reincarnation, begin another one. In each life, he works hard to achieve his material goals, but his endeavors always end in failure, and he must begin anew. Fortunately, we are not Sisyphus, and there is a way out of the cycle of birth and death. The first step is the knowledge that I am not this body. The Vedas declare, Aham Brahmasmi, I am pure spirit soul, and as spirit souls, we all have relationship with the Supreme Spirit Soul, Krishna or God. The individual soul may be compared to the spark emanating from the fire of the Supreme Soul. Just as the spark and the fire are of the same quality, the individual soul is of the same spiritual quality as the Supreme Lord. Both share a spiritual nature comprised of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. All living beings originally exist in the spiritual world as transcendental loving servants of God. But when the living entity gives up that relationship, he comes under the control of the material energy. The eternal soul then becomes implicated in the cycle of repeated birth and death, taking different bodies according to his karma. In order to become free from reincarnation, one must thoroughly understand the law of karma. Karma is a Sanskrit term that defines the law of nature analogous to the modern scientific principle of action and reaction. Sometimes we say, I had that coming to me. We often instinctively realize that we are somehow responsible for the good and bad things that happen to us, although the exact mechanism escapes us. Students of literature use the term poetic justice to describe the unhappy fates of ill-motivated characters, and in the realm of religion, theologians debate the meaning of such aphorisms as an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and as ye sow, so shall ye reap. But the law of karma goes beyond these vague formulations and aphorisms and encompasses a complete science of action and reaction, especially as it applies to reincarnation. In this life, by our thoughts and actions, we prepare our next body, which may be higher or lower. The human form of life is very rare. The soul gets a human body only after evolving through millions of lower species. And it is only in the human form that the living entity has the intelligence to understand karmic laws and thus become free from reincarnation. The human body is the only loophole by which one can escape the sufferings of material existence. One who misuses the human form and does not become self-realized is no better than a dog or an ass. The reactions of karma are like dust covering the mirror of a pure original spiritual consciousness. This contamination can only be removed by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, which is comprised of the Sanskrit names of God, pronounced Hare Krishna Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The power of this mantra, often called the great chant for deliverance, to free one from karma, is described throughout the Vedic literature. Srimad Bhagavatam, the cream of the Puranas, advises living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy names of Krishna. In the Vishnu Dharma, it is said, this word Krishna is so auspicious that anyone who chants this holy name immediately gets rid of the resultant actions of sinful activities from many births. And the Naradiya Puranas extols the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra as the simplest means of achieving liberation in the present degraded age. In order to be effective, however, the Hare Krishna mantra must be received from a bona fide spiritual master in the disciplic succession descending from Lord Krishna himself. It is only by the mercy of such a qualified guru that one can become free from the cycle of birth and death. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya, who is God himself, declares, according to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with the bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. How can one recognize such a bona fide spiritual master? First of all, he must be situated in the authorized line of succession descending from Lord Krishna. Such a genuine spiritual master receives the teachings of Lord Krishna through the disciplic chain and simply repeats these teachings without alterations, just as he has heard them from his own spiritual master. He is not an impersonalist or a voidist, but rather a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Moreover, the bona fide spiritual master is completely free from sinful activity, especially meat-eating, illicit sex, gambling and intoxication, and is always absorbed in God consciousness 24 hours a day. Only such a spiritual master can free one from reincarnation. Material existence may be compared to a vast ocean of birth and death. The human form of life is like a boat capable of crossing this ocean, and the spiritual master is the captain of this boat. He gives the disciple directions by which he can regain his original spiritual nature. At the time of initiation, the spiritual master agrees to accept the remaining karma of the disciple. If the disciple perfectly follows the instructions of the genuine guru or spiritual master, he becomes free from the cycle of reincarnation. Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, once wrote, "The guru takes on a very great responsibility. He must guide his disciple and enable him to become an eligible candidate for the perfect position, immortality. The guru must be competent to lead his disciple back to Godhead. He often guaranteed that if one did nothing more than Shravana, hear about Krishna, the supreme controller and cause of all causes, he would be liberated." Practical techniques for becoming free from karma and reincarnation. Activities of sense gratification meant only to please one's mind and senses are the cause of material bondage, and as long as one engages in such fruitive activities, the soul is sure to continually transmigrate from species to species. Lord Rishabdev, an incarnation of Krishna, warned, "People are mad after sense gratification. When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body, which although temporary is the cause of his misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification, by which he perpetually gets material bodies one after another. As long as one does not inquire about the spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subjected to miseries arising from ignorance. Be it sinful or pious, karma has its resultant actions. If a person is engaged in any kind of karma, his mind is called karmatmaka, or colored with fruitive activity. As long as the mind is impure, consciousness is unclear, and as long as one is absorbed in fruitive activities, he has to accept a material body. When living entity is covered by the mode of ignorance, he does not understand the individual living being and the supreme living being, and his mind is subjugated to fruitive activity. Therefore, until one has love for God, he is certainly not delivered from having to accept a material body again and again. But becoming free from the cycle of birth and death requires more than just theoretical understanding. Jnana, or knowledge that one is not the material body but a spirit soul, is not sufficient for liberation. One must act on the platform of spirit soul. This is called devotional service, which includes many practical techniques for becoming free from karma and reincarnation. First one. The first principle of devotional service is that one should always chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Second one should always regularly study the Vedic literatures, especially Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, in order to develop a thorough understanding of the nature of the self, the law of karma, the process of reincarnation, and the means of becoming self-realized. Point number 3. One should eat only spiritualized vegetarian foods. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that one should eat only food that is offered to him in sacrifice. Otherwise, one will become implicated in the reactions of karma. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayashyati tad aham bhaktya upaharatam ashnami prayat atmanam. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit or water, I will accept it. Bhagavad Gita 9.26. It is clear from this verse that Lord is not interested in offerings of liquor, meat, fish or eggs, but simple vegetarian foods prepared with love and devotion. We should reflect on the fact that food cannot be produced by man working in factories. Man cannot eat gasoline, plastic microchips or steel. Food is produced by the Lord's own natural arrangements, and offering food to Krishna is a form of recognizing our debt to God. How does one offer food to Krishna? The technique is very simple and easy to perform. Anyone may keep a small altar in one's home or apartment with a picture of Lord Krishna and the spiritual master on it. The simplest form of offering is to place the food before the picture and say, "My dear Lord Krishna, please accept this humble offering," and chant Hare Krishna. The key to this simple process is devotion. God is not hungry for food, but for our love, and eating this purified food that has been accepted by Krishna frees one from karma and inoculates him against material contamination. So let's end here today. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.